The Vice President's ability to vote in the Senate, though often overlooked, has helped to shape the United States and continues to be one of the most important aspects of the Senate. According to the Constitution, in Article 1, Section 3, Clause 4, the Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they are equally divided, and other than being the successor to the President if he or she is removed from office or unable to lead, this is their only political power. Some vice presidents, including current President Joe Biden, during his vice presidency, never get the chance to act on either of these powers. But this does not diminish the importance of the tiebreaker vote. Many votes cast by various vice presidents over the course of the country's history have had massive impacts on which laws were able or unable to pass through the Senate. During the creation of the United States Constitution, the many delegates gathered in Philadelphia had a lot to consider when attempting to create the very best document in the nation's history. However, the vice president's vote, which was one of the key aspects of the Senate, was added in as an afterthought. Elbridge Gerry, who was one of the framers of the Constitution, did not agree with giving this power to the vice president because he believed that if they wanted to make the executive branch so powerful, they might as well have put the president himself as head of the legislature. Although he opposed it, during his time as vice president from 1813 to 1814, he used his tiebreaker vote on 9 occasions. But ultimately, 10 days before the convention ended, it was voted in favor by 8 states, leaving 2 to vote against it, while 1 was abstained. How exactly does this power work? When motions, nominations, or amendments are voted on in the Senate, sometimes due to conflicting political agendas and party affiliation, these proposals split the Senate's vote, leaving the bill unable to pass due to there always being an even number of senators. In order to fix this issue, the vice president is given the power to vote on the issue only when there is a tie. The vice president holds no other power in the Senate, and oftentimes does not attend the meetings. When the vice president is not present and there is a tie within the Senate, the president pro tempore, who is elected by the Senate, is tasked with breaking the tie instead. The tiebreaker vote is known as a check and balance over the legislative branch, held by the executive branch. This vote allows the executive branch the ability to pass laws that oftentimes would not get the votes it needed in order to make it to the president to sign into law. On many occasions, the vice president and president work in tandem in order to help pass laws that fit into their political agenda. In recent years, many of the ties broken by the vice president involved the confirmation of political figures into certain positions. These figures oftentimes are politically affiliated with the current party in control of the Senate, so the confirmation of these individuals boosts the power of the vice president's party when the vice president and the Senate share the same political affiliation. Most recently, there was a tie in the Senate on September 30th, 2021, concerning the nomination of Robit Chopra for Director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Chopra is a Democrat, so the Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris used her vote in order to confirm the nomination for this position. The 2 vice presidents who voted within the Senate the most were earlier vice presidents, with John C. Calhoun voting a total of 31 times, and the United States' first vice president, John Adams, voting a total of 29 times. Both of these men completely surpassed the rest of the vice president's total number of votes. With his votes, Vice President Adams was able to protect the president's authority over the removal of appointees and prevent war with Great Britain. One of his most interesting votes came when discussing where the capital should be located, as the current Senate split on whether the capital should remain in Philadelphia or be moved to the currently underdeveloped region, now known as Washington, D.C. John Adams voted to move the capital to what is now D.C., as it was much closer to President Washington's home state of Virginia. Many United States vice presidents never had the chance to use their vote. This list includes Vice Presidents John Tyler, William R. King, Andrew Johnson, Thomas A. Hendricks, Theodore Roosevelt, Charles W. Fairbanks, Calvin Coolidge, Lyndon B. Johnson, Gerald R. Ford, Nelson R. Rockefeller, J. Danforth Quayle, and current President Joe Biden. Many of these vice presidents either died in office, were promoted to president due to the passing away of their current president or stepping down of their current president, or were elected during a period when the Senate or president were controlled by the same party, meaning that their ties were less likely to happen. During Joe Biden's vice presidency, for the first 2 years, the Senate was controlled by Democrats, meaning every motion was either passed or repealed without a tie happening. In the rest of the years, however, Republicans held power in the Senate, resulting in the opposite effect. Simply, the reason Joe Biden never got to vote was due to the overwhelming control of both parties in the Senate during the era of President Obama. Many vice presidents felt that their power within the grand scheme of the United States government was extremely limited. Vice presidents such as Elbridge Gerry and John Nancy Garner believed that the position of the vice president was not worth much at all, only existing as a backup in the case that a president were to pass away in office. Even President Dwight D. Eisenhower agreed that the current vice president, Richard Nixon, offered little help, and said in reference to how little he helped, "If you give me a week, I might be able to think of one instance where he helped." Recently, however, many vice presidents have increased their role within the Senate by taking up roles as key advisors on behalf of the president. For example, Dick Cheney was one of the most important driving forces behind President George W. Bush's decision to invade Iraq, while Vice President Mike Pence sought to press the Republican agenda by lobbying in Congress. In the origins of the United States, the only role for the vice president was to preside over Congress and take office if the president was ever unable to lead. But in present times, the vice president rarely attends the meetings of the Senate unless the administration is particularly invested in the bill or motion or for ceremonial occasions. This is because the vice president's role has shifted to a very ceremonial one, where they often only help to advise the president rather than take up a leading role in the Senate. But, on occasion, they will also take up a leading role in the Senate, advising other senators on what they should probably do when voting on certain bills or motions. Their role in the Senate has especially diminished, as the vice presidents feel that the president pro tempore oftentimes can deal with the ties within the Senate, as this position is often filled by someone with the same party affiliation as the president and vice president, or they have been within the Senate for longer than the vice president has, and probably have a little bit more experience. When this is not the case, however, vice presidents take up a much more active role in Congress, lobbying for certain motions and voting for bills that enhance their political agendas. One of the most interesting tiebreaker votes cast by the vice presidents over the course of our nation's history occurred during the time of Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr was elected to be vice president under Thomas Jefferson through the Democratic-Republican Party. During his time, the runner-up in the presidential race was elected to be the vice president, meaning that although he was a Federalist at heart, Burr worked under the Democratic-Republican Jefferson. But this did not stop his political agenda. When a tie was formed over the confirmation of the Judiciary Act of 1801, Burr undercut the Democratic-Republican senators, voting to confirm rather than to repeal it. This act reduced the number of Supreme Court justices from 6 to 5, effective after the next vacancy, which had the effect of blocking Democratic-Republican Jefferson from electing a new justice once the next one stepped down or passed away, undercutting his authority. This outraged the senators who had voted to repeal it, and later caused Aaron Burr's own downfall, as this act infuriated members of the opposing party who he had run with, including Jefferson, and did not fully satisfy the Federalists, as Burr had to amend the act in order for it to pass through the Senate a second time, which took away many of the things that the Federalists valued in it. With both parties greatly disliking him, Burr stepped back from national politics. Another extremely interesting vice president comes in the form of John C. Calhoun. Because of the changing political atmosphere within the Senate, Calhoun cast the most votes of any vice president during his 2 terms under different presidents. He ran under Presidents John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson, who were both a part of the Democratic-Republican Party. During his time as vice president, Calhoun had many struggles as many members within his own party sought to diminish his power and disapproved of his opposition to Jackson's invasion of the Spanish-controlled Florida. This put Calhoun in a horrible standing within his party, while he voted a couple of times during ties against his own political standing. After his 2 terms of vice presidency, he was not re-elected to the position. The vice president's power to vote in the Senate, although controversial, has had a massive impact on shaping not only our executive branch, from which it stems, but also the legislative branch. Although the role of the vice president has decreased from controlling many parts of the Senate down to only being able to vote once in a while. At its peak, the power that the vice president held over the Senate was unmatched by even the Speaker of the House. As the United States continues into the future, it can expect to see more vice presidents come and go, while they occasionally vote on important motions that may otherwise be locked in a time. Each of these sources listed on this page helped with the research for all of the different slides in my presentation. The U.S. Constitution, along with the rest of these sources, did the same thing as the last slide. The book listed provided basic information on the vice president's power to vote, while all of these pictures listed were used in the presentation, and so were all of these pictures without them.